So one of the misconceptions about AI is that it can solve humanity's old problems. But actually, the COVID crisis showed us that AI has limitations. It can come up with very good pattern recognition and even with unexpected patterns of new proposals for new drugs, for instance. But ultimately, it is humans who need to follow up on this hypothesis, if you want so. So it's AI and humans who can solve these problems. So one new aspect which the COVID crisis showed us is that AI systems sometimes didn't work. They were trained on data which were no longer working, if you want so, because we behaved differently as a society, as individuals. So I think that digital resilience, if you want so, to make it more general, will be definitely one of the problems that we have to look at in the future. So it is important to have broad consultation because it is a broad topic. So we need to involve civil society, industry, academia. And we saw last year the development of principles from different international organizations and national bodies, industry associations. Once we have these principles, this is important because it guides us towards what is important for us as stakeholders. The next steps should be the implementation of these principles, the how and who is going to do that. And this can be through certification, standardization. But ultimately, I think it is the whole society who will be involved in developing these frameworks. So academia, like TU München, and technical associations like IEEE play an important role in my view because of our independence. So for instance, policymakers need this independent voice to think of the right regulation which truly benefit society. We already see this happening. AI is already determining the music we are listening to, the movies that we are looking at, the news that reach us, and they are embedded in the toys that are used by our children. So I think that AI plays already an important role in developing predilections, but ultimately also personalities if you think of using AI in an education system. So that's why I think it is especially important to think now of what kind of measures we need to put in place to develop that society that we want to have in the future. So when we talk about the framework, we need to focus on the consequences, the unwanted consequences that we want to eliminate or minimize, and to the kind of beneficial consequences, if we want to, that we want to focus on. Ultimately, we need to focus on the impact that the application has. And we already see that organizations like the European Commissions or the OECD try to develop a classification of AI system according to the impact it poses for society and individuals, and to see what kind of impact need regulation and what kind of impacts need other kind of measures, such as standards and certification. As a matter of fact, we with IEEE already are working in a number of initiatives on standards and certification, which in my opinion needs ultimately to go hand in hand with regulation. When we talk about ethics in practice, we need to tackle this very similarly to other risk assessment, for instance, which is already in place for cybersecurity or for privacy. So it has to be awareness at the board level, And it also has to have representation at that level. But ultimately, it has to go down to all levels, and it has to reach definitely the developers, because it is them who need this framework when they are faced with ethical dilemmas in developing those systems. So we are in an engineering body at IEEE, and we are also looking at what kind of practical, if you want, so ethical questions engineers are faced when developing the systems, and to see if the existing or proposed frameworks are the right ones that can be used by these developers. So I think that you know, when we talk about the framework, it has to reach all levels of the organization.